So as some of you all may see, I'm gonna make sure I show everybody correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You see who I'm doing it for.
Let's talk about it.
See who I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for Dak. Got my Dak jersey on, representation.
Mm-hmm.
Represent my guy. It was gruesome injury.
Yes.
Gruesome injury. I'm not even gonna lie. You know that
Mm-hmm.
that hurt me. That hurt me. Watching the game, it seemed like I was at a funeral, and you hate to see those type of injuries. We know injuries are a part of the game. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's collision sport. It's a brutal sport, and once again, we know injuries are a part of the game. But those type of gruesome injuries, those somewhat seeming like their career type ending injuries, you don't really want to see those. You don't want to see those at all. Those kind of hurt, and the type of person that Dak is, I think it hurt. If it hit a little different for a lot of people because
Mm-hmm.
Dak is a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Just to piggyback off what you said, um, that reputation precedes him in the NFL, as far as the things that he's done off the field. Not only off the field, but just him being a good guy on the field too, far as just good camaraderie. He's always wanting the best for his teammates, and just for other players that he know in the league. And I really, really hated to see Dak go down like that. I've had bad leg injuries in my lifetime, so me personally, I really don't like seeing nobody in the league or any sports that I watch take a leg injury, let alone a gruesome one. A broken leg or broken ankle is one of the toughest injuries to come back from, especially when it's compound. Compound fractures, if y'all don't know, is when the bone protrudes out of the skin, and that leads to high risk for one, the break not being clean because of the way that it's poking out the skin, number one, and two, also for infection because all the way to the hospital, that bone is exposed, and now you got to put that bone back inside your body. So it's definitely a scary injury. Me personally, being a Washington football team fan, I've dealt with that type of injury recently. And honestly, I would say prior to this year, I would have been so fearful for Dak, because I'm a Dak fan, like you said, even though I'm a Washington football fan. I always root for good people in the league, and people who I just think are talented. So I hated to see it, but it's funny because the same Sunday is like Alex Smith made his return when nobody thought that he would make his return. So it's like that gives me optimism for that, because it's like one thing Hill always tells me is that we dealing with modern medicine right now. So it's like a lot of the things that took people out in years past, it's not taking people out anymore. That's number one. And number two, it's about how you deal with the adversity of the injury. It's all about the character of the person. And you could see Alex Smith, he didn't give a damn what nobody said about that injury. The whole world told him, hang it up, it's a wrap. But he got out there, and it actually looked like he could play football when he was out there. You know what I'm saying? Even if he'll never play another down, I feel like he accomplished his goal. But I really do feel like Dak is young enough, he's strong enough, he's talented enough to get back, and I hope that he do get back.
First thing I think about when gruesome injuries is the timetable, timetable of recovery. And I'm saying, okay, 4 to 6 months was the projected recovery date. I'm like, that's enough time for him to actually get healthy, get acclimated. Hopefully next year we have an actual NFL offseason that he can actually, go through. And then quarterbacks don't get hit in practice or in camp. So all we just got to make sure is you're healthy enough to move around, and you should be. I'm confident that he'll be able to come back and be the Dak that I know that he is. I think the part that I had a roller coaster of emotions, to be quite honest, during the game, because it was a divisional rivalry against the Giants. It's an up and down. We losing, we winning. It was a entertaining game actually between two.
Yeah, no, it was a good game.
Two sorry ass teams. This was going to keep it a buck. It's just the fact I hated the fact that I hate a lot of stuff because when it comes to the Cowboys, a lot of people just can't keep it real.
They can't keep it a buck when it comes to the Cowboys.
And so I'm in a rock and a hard place. So I'm like, yes, Andy Dalton is, a capable quarterback. Mm-hmm. Is he a borderline starter in this league? Yes, he is. On certain teams, he could probably start right now, and you would have the confidence in him. He got the pieces around him, plug and play. Mm-hmm. As a Cowboy fan, I'm like, you know what? Let's go get these victories. I'm not team tank in football. No, to be quite honest, not purposely. I'm not team purposely tanking in football. Let's say that. If you just trash, then you just trash. But purposely tanking, I'm not for that. I'm Cowboys. Let's go out. I'm wanting the Cowboys to win every week. I'm rooting for my team every week. So that's what I'm going. But I just don't want to hear the simple fact that, okay, let's say Andy Dalton goes out there and ball. See, he's better than Dak. Y'all didn't need Dak. That's why y'all didn't pay Dak. Y'all got Andy Dalton. And I got to hear that side of the story, that side of the spectrum. And then, but y'all been telling me that Andy Dalton been trash his entire career in Cincinnati. But now all of a sudden he come to Dallas. It's a different story. Like, I'm in a catch-22 in this situation because, once again, I don't feel that everybody's going to keep it real. And then let's say Andy Dalton does ball out and get us to the playoff. And then he lose another playoff game. Are we going to just say, well, y'all got there to the, with the backup quarterback, it is what it is? Or are we going to say, the Cowboys, they won the Super Bowl since 95? Like, are we going to do that again? Like, do I got to do that again?
I mean, we got to do it all. Come on now. We got to do it all. But what I will say,
do you have to do it all?
That's a part of the game, right? So look, if Andy Dalton balls, which he has all the tool set to ball, as you could see when he came in, how he hit Gallup on the money. So it's like he really just needed some talent around him, right? So now let's just say if he does ball, right? The nature of football is if y'all go to the playoffs and Dak come back, they're gonna try to give Andy a chance to at least prove himself when Dak get there. And if we do have a real season next year, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And if Dak is the warrior and the talent that you believe that he is, and he comes back and he says, okay, I'm not afraid of no competition. It's football after all. And he go in there and either win the job or Andy goes in there and win the job. But I think either way you have, you put yourself, if y'all can get the defense, the Cowboys put themselves in a good position. I said from the beginning when y'all signed Andy Dalton that it was a good pickup because he's one, he could come to my team and start. So I'm never going to downplay anybody that can come to my team and start. That's number one. And number two, I think he can go to a lot more teams and start. I just really think that it was over for him. The Bengals thing, it lasted too long, and they really just, while he was there, were at a lack of offensive talent.
But when he had offensive talent, he balled out.
He balled out, bro. He balled.
If you watch our games, how we starting off, it's been actually, of course, the defense has been historically bad. I mean, last week I wanted to fire Mike Nolan. They showed up a little bit better last week, but the turnovers has really been hurting them. Mm-hmm. And if you've been watching our games, how they've been trying to play some of those earlier halves, it's been real, bootlegs, short passes, a lot of rhythm plays. So all Andy really has to do, and we've been moving the ball. So all Andy really has to do is just minimize the turnover, save your defense. And if we utilize Zeke, this, like I said, the division is that trash. We should be able to stay afloat, keep it moving, and stay on top of the NFC East with Andy Dalton. Mm-hmm. Let me go back to Hakeem's statement. That is the face of the franchise, and to be honest, Andy Dalton can take y'all to the chip, and that gonna get his spot back. I think you're absolutely not believing.
He's partially correct.
Yeah, I think you're minimizing the hate that Dak received from his own fan base. Mm-hmm. If you had to remember that during this whole offseason when he didn't have a contract, it's a lot of Cowboy fans that did not want him to get paid, that does not want him to get his money, that don't want him on the team, that don't believe in Dak. So if we so happen to go to the chip with Andy Dalton, Dak gone, bro. Like, we not having none of that Nick Foles, Carson Wentz type of situation. And Dallas is too loud. Fan base is too loud.
Yeah, you gotta have a clear-cut guy.
Yeah.
But there definitely was a lot of criticism towards Dak being close to being paid like one of the premier passers in the league, which I never understood, as you can see from the first 4 games of the season, that he should have been. But how you feel about that? And I don't want to stay on this topic too long, Hill, but we got to touch on how you feel about the contract situation with, them trying to get a deal done, both sides not being able to reach the deal, and now we had a gruesome injury that you spoke of earlier. How do you foresee things playing out?
As I stated, I made a whole Dak contract video, so everybody knows the side I stand on with Dak contract, what he should have been paid, what they should have gave him, market value and all that. I'm an advocate for Dak getting paid. I'm still an advocate for Dak getting paid. Both sides were stubborn. Let's say that. Nobody wanted to budge. They was moving on turtle time, and it came to fruition. They both was cocky, like, okay, you know what? We can get the deal done next year, because the Cowboys have been making moves, renegotiating certain contracts, trying to free up cap for next year in lieu of paying Dak, or because the franchise tag goes up next year if we have to tag him anyway. So they're already prepared on paying Dak. So they say, and they say injury hasn't changed anything. We want to pay Dak. It is what it is. At the end of the day, the reason why I wasn't optimistic about this season, because they didn't pay him. I wasn't going to get all my emotions that I really want to give y'all, that I normally give y'all, because y'all didn't give him his contract. And the injury, it just was the icing on the cake. It was, you know what? They should have paid him. The fact that he gambled on himself, and I'm pretty sure that given the circumstances, he would do it again. Football is a gamble. Period.
I would do it every time.
Football is a gamble, period. They could have paid him and still he could have got hurt, and they could have found a way not to give him all his money. So it's negotiation. He had to use his leverage, and his leverage hasn't wavered, because all he has to do is show that he's healthy. If they let him walk, they let him walk. Another team will pay Dak all his money that he's going to pay. So it's the name of the game. I hated the Monday morning quarterback that everybody wanted to play. See, that's why you don't play on the franchise tag. That's why you don't play on the franchise tag.
To get your money, you got to play on it. If they don't give you the deal.
But they was also the same people that wanted him to sign a low under market value contract. So which one was it? You wanted him to get paid, or you wanted him to take a BS deal? And I'm not. So you got to stay on one side of the fence. You just can't because hindsight happened. You can't change where your stance was.
Yep. And to answer this question that's on the screen from one of the supporters, should the Cowboys look at Cap or another free agent, or y'all think Dalton good? I honestly think Dalton is good. I wouldn't bring nobody else into the quarterback room unless you take another injury to the quarterback position. Other than that, I would leave it untouched. And I definitely would just kind of stay away from the Cap thing. One, because of the Dallas nature of everything. Like, everything is bigger in Texas. You know how it's even bigger in Dallas. So I wouldn't even do it. And plus with Dak, like you said, y'all want a clear-cut guy. Y'all don't want a Nick Foles, Carson Wentz situation. And wherever, if Cap was to get signed by anybody, it's definitely whoever their starting quarterback is. It's going to be a Carson Wentz, Nick Foles situation.
I think for Dak, not Dak, for Cap to get a job, I don't believe he's going to ever get a job again. I want to be wrong. On that, but for me, I want him to actually get an off season. I want to get him a full off season to get a job. I don't want him to come in the middle of the season with he's already rusty. I want him to have a full off season with the team so he can actually show his full capabilities. That's me personally. That's me being personal, but
I agree. I think they're smart. But I honestly, as much as I hate to agree with the pessimistic outlook that you laid out, I kind of believe that in my heart, deep down in my heart too. As much as I want Cap to get another shot, but it's every year that goes past it's looking more and more bleak. So
I want you to. How did you feel about the contract situation or the contract talk? Because once again, that was the first thing that popped up after the injury. They're like, that's why you don't play on the franchise tag. And I gotta go to. I may make a run right quick. Go ahead.
I already I already know who the top guys are in the league, even if they're not the top guys statistically. So it's called the eye test. So I could look at Dak and tell just based off his talent and the weapons that Dallas are putting around him that he's the future of the league. And if I have my guy, I don't want that in question. So I'm automatically gonna just, make sure I take care of my guy. And if I'm taking care of other players, I'm definitely gonna try to make sure I take care of my guy first. So I would have probably have gotten a deal done if I was the owner, but I'm not. But it's a whole business, and they play these games. They did it to Kirk Cousins, and I'm not trying to compare them two quarterbacks to each other, but I think if someone else gets a young quarterback and they get into that same position where they're not yet a Super Bowl contender team, they'll probably play that same game, because why not? It's smart business wise to commit.
We had a shocking transaction happen this week. Le'Veon became a Chief.
Mm-hmm.
And that just hurt one of my fantasy teams that's already hurting. But that's neither here nor there. But what's your initial thoughts on that, Cannon?
My initial thoughts was I was upset because, one, I had Le'Veon. I stuck with him during IR. Mm-hmm. And I needed him on the Jets because the Jets don't have anybody else at running back. And I don't even need you to do good, Le'Veon. I just need 60 yards and a touchdown on the goal line. That's all I need from you, right? And now they trade him, and they trade him to an offensive juggernaut. Yeah. So it's like, I don't even know if you really even going to get touches, Le'Veon. And if Andy Reid he's very smart, so he's probably going to try to work a man eventually. But it's like, I don't know if it's a rush to. Like, I don't know if he's going to get played this week. So I'm looking at it from a selfish standpoint, from fantasy, because I'm trying to figure out if I need to cut this man or not. He's been on IR all year for me. He only played one game back, and now you're on another team, so I don't know what to do. But what I will say about the Chiefs running back room is they got the rookie with Charles Edward.
Clyde
Edward-Helaire. They got him, and he looked pretty decent. But I think, if Le'Veon could get back to his Pittsburgh Steelers days, which I don't know if he could ever get back to that, then he could probably take control of that running back room. But that remains to be seen.
I think that they don't need Pittsburgh Le'Veon, to be quite honest, because Clyde has been doing a great job for them.
Yeah, he has been.
What he struggles is he's not strong enough to handle goal line. Like, he just can't.
I've seen him handle it too,
but he just can't. That's the struggle. That's the struggle, because if you watch them, and it's not really a struggle because they get very creative in the red zone, but they're getting so creative in the red zone because they know for a fact that they can't just punch it in with Clyde.
Yeah. I remember that game we watched, and he just kept getting stuff.
Punching in. He's just punching in because he's not strong enough yet. He's going to get there. He's going to get there. But now they got Le'Veon. So now they get to the red zone. It's an easy, you know what, we could just punch this in if we have to, because they've been getting real creative doing reverses, RPOs, throwing it to the left tackle, or, flip passes. They doing everything in the red zone to score, and you can't depend on that week in and week out. But what you can depend on is somebody who has a nose for the end zone. They can just punch it in. So it's no need for you to try to get rid of Le'Veon, and don't get your fantasy advice from Hill. You know better than that. But he's going to be a goal line threat, and he's going to piss. I'm hurt for Clyde because he doesn't get those goal line touches.
If they even get into that situation, so it's like they full of back. So it's like I wanted him to go somewhere that didn't have a back at all, so he could just be the guy. But like I said, I'm my take is from a fantasy standpoint. I've been done with Le'Veon for real years ago. I normally don't even pick him up in fantasy. It's just running back was thin this year, man. It was thin, so I had to.
I'm looking real bad, man. It's fantasy, but it's just. I mean, the Chiefs have been. They're not really struggling. They're just getting punched. They're getting people's best. They're getting people's best bets, and which I said was going to happen to them. Like they're the hunter.
The Super Bowl champ, yeah.
You're the hunter. People's going to give you their best effort week in and week out. You can't hide up. You can't sneak with anybody this year. You just paid your quarterback $500 million. You're on TV every week.
Half a B.
You're not sneaking up on it. You're going to get everybody's best bet every week, and that's what happened. And the Raiders showed you. The Raiders ain't beat them in a while, and the Raiders showed up. The
Raiders showing up this season, period.
You touched on it earlier this year.
And it's looking like John Gruden said, all right, during this pandemic, he went back to the drawing board because last year we were saying that the game kind of looked like it passed him by. And I said in our private conversation, I didn't want to give up with him because I thought he had that thing that coaches need, that great coaches have. And I thought that. So it's like the jury's still out, but it's like he is turning Oakland around, man, and they're looking like a certified problem. So it's like they beat the Chiefs, they continue to win. If the season continues to go, which Hill said it will no matter what because of the NFL. Then the Raiders can be a problem if they get into the playoffs. They have that mentality, and they're in a new stadium. They're feeling good. They have that mentality that they can beat whoever. And
they're looking like a Gruden team. They're looking tough. They're fighting
like grinders.
They look like Gruden grinders. And he finally putting his stamp on that team, in which I did not agree with some of the moves and the way he went about it, but it does take time to put your stamp on certain teams, and it looked like because they haven't played. Every team that they play has a winning record.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like to, well, who did they play, or they try to use that against certain teams. I know I've heard that before against my team. So I'm going to give those Raiders their praise because every team that they face has a winning record. So they're not playing bums. They're coming out, they're coming out with it.
That's a fact.
So they're going to be tough in that AFC West. You're going to have to come fight them. Like you say, you have to come with it. You ain't going to beat them.
And I just think it's good for the NFL also, man. We've been seeing a lot of the same teams over the last few years. It's just good to see, the Browns looking better. You got the Raiders looking better, the Bills looking better. So it's just, I think it's just good for the league, man.
It's great for the league. Other teams, some other teams that show what they got and improving. It's like you say, we need some new. We need some of the old. We need some of the old back, and we need some new.
That's a fact.
All right, so I only got one Corona theory left, Cannon.
All right, let me hear
it. Adam Gase is only dead because of Corona. Because they fired Dan Quinn.
I told you. I told you, man. Listen,
Only got one.
Corona or not, some of these people needed to be fired.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'm surprised it took this long for Dan Quinn because I said that he was on thin ice last season. You last season after you blew the Super Bowl, so it's like then you come in with the Dallas game. I would have fired you right then and there because what you're showing me that blowing leads is now that's a trend for you.
It's your DNA, buddy.
Yeah, so it's like I don't even want to be. It's like cancer. You gotta cut it off. You gotta distance yourself from it. And so I didn't think that a pandemic was going to save him. And I'm shocked that a pandemic continues to save Adam over there in New York, man, because Le'Veon, you got rid of him. What you going to do now? You going back to Frank Gore?
Mm-hmm.
You really about to get yourself fired. Like, I don't know what's going on. So we'll see how long the Rona can protect his job.
Continue. I showed you the schedule. I don't see a win in their future.
You said that.
I don't see a win in their future. Darnold's hurt. He'll be back soon. But I mean, even with him, he wasn't playing that well. It's just the fact that they got a lot of picks from the Jamal Adams trade. So you might as well use those. You might as well position yourself to have a great pick. You know, go ahead and get the number one pick. You go ahead and get everybody that you want. And just ride it out. I mean, firing Adam Gase is not going to change anything in New York right now, in my opinion.
Sometimes it does. Look what happened when they fired Gruden and Callahan took control. They instantly, in 1 week, looked like they knew how to play football in 1 week. I'm not saying that they won, but they did things like not waste timeouts in the third quarter. And so it's just like, sometimes firing a coach can change things instantly. So it's like even if they don't win games here, they can at least trend towards start winning games. And I think as a fan of a team, you would rather that they trended towards winning than to just look like complete trash all the time. They need something.
Okay, I'm not a fan, so I'm definitely gonna look at it. I'm looking at it differently because, like I said earlier, I'm not a fan of tanking.
Yeah, I don't say tank. I'm just saying get rid of him. This might help you.
Yeah, this ain't tanking. You just, I mean, it is. You are who you are. It is what it is. But I just feel that it's not gonna change. But some might change. They may play a little bit better. You know, it is what it is. Want to give it's not a apology, just a shout out, some praise to the Titans, man. We bashed the Titans last week. We killed the Titans last week. You know, they were putting a black eye on the league with their COVID outbreak. They were, not handling things. We called them selfish. We bashed the Titans. We bashed the Titans. And, Candy said they was going to play Iron Man football. And they went out there and punished the Bills. I mean, they went out there and punched the Bills in the mouth, and they rallied around themselves. They showed up.
I ain't apologizing, and I'm gonna tell you why they went out there.
Yeah, it was nothing to apologize about because they deserve everything that we said last week.
I'm just saying the reason they went out there and punched them in the mouth because they held them extra practices here.
I told you.
They manipulated and they lied.
I told you they had to have them practices, bro. They had that because you had to go out there and perform. I told you.
Hey, but I ain't mad because Derrick Henry y'all was able to get Derrick Henry on that field for me, and I needed Derrick Henry bad to solidify my my win and best of the best, man. Ooh, that's a tough league.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm giving them their praise because they showed up. They still undefeated. They did what they were supposed to do. They handled business. They handled the tough Bills. Which I'm disappointed in the Bills because they should have been ready. They should have looked way better than what they looked, especially with a team that did.
It was Tuesday, bro.
Them outside practices wasn't doing that much.
It was Tuesday, bro. You yourself said no game should ever be. And so you got them in an awkward spot playing football on a day they never played football a day in their life on.
Should Josh Norman retire? Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Get up out here. You little boy.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
You little boy. That was the toss that sent you out the league right then and there. You tossed your ass right up out the league. You got
parallel, bro. You literally were parallel to the ground.
Yeah, bro. Like I would have fought him. It is what it is, bro.
I wouldn't. You should have got up. Well, who quit at halftime the one time? That's what you should have did.
This ain't for me, bro. This ain't for me no more, dog. This ain't for me no more, bro. You know what I'm saying?
You just got up and left, bro.
For real, right then and there.
Doing things you can't believe. It's the 3-man week. We come at you with topics. No, you cannot stop it.